Study Online. My name is Marlies and I will be your teacher for this pre-session introduction on emotional intelligence. The module on emotional intelligence is designed to encourage you to think about the human condition and about some of the mistakes that our emotions can lead us to making. What is emotional intelligence? Emotional intelligence, otherwise known as emotional quotient or EQ, is the ability to understand, use, and manage our own emotions in positive ways, to relieve stress, communicate effectively, empathize with others, overcome challenges, and diffuse conflict. Every sort of intelligence signals the ability to navigate well around a particular set of challenges: mathematical, linguistic, technical, commercial. When we say that someone is clever, but they have made a mess of their personal lives, or that they have made a fortune, but they are sad, or that they have a successful career, but are intolerable and angry, we are pointing to a deficit in emotional intelligence. The human race has many great achievements which have required careful and detailed study. We have discovered many new and exciting technologies. We put a man on the moon or found a vaccine for the coronavirus in just a year. Yet, isn't it sad that there is still so much conflict in the world? That still millions of people die in needless wars, and that even after 2 world wars, war is still used as an instrument of foreign policy. One reason for this paradox may be that we don't pay enough attention to emotional intelligence. Some philosophers talk about emotional ignorance. David Hume, an 18th century philosopher and historian, stated, "Reason is the slave to passion." What does this mean? Humans have the ability to think, understand, and form judgments logically. We are able to be rational. It is often said that one thing that separates human beings from other living animals is our ability to reason. It is this quality that has enabled man to make many important discoveries. The world today is much different from the world 200 years ago, and the world then is much different from the world 400 years ago. However, we now know that our emotions play a much bigger role than our reason in the way we think. In fact, humans can experience 30 emotions in 1 hour and 500 emotions in 1 day. To help you understand this, think about how we are different from a computer. Pause the video and read the article When Passion Overwhelms Reason. When you come back, answer the questions: what would you have done? What is the right thing to do? And what would a rational person have done? Scientists argue that thousands of years ago, society was faced with many different threats, and that as a result, survival was much more difficult than it is today. Consequently, we became much more sensitive to threats and less sensitive to opportunities. And this sensitivity to threats is still part of who we are today. For many a person, the biggest threat is the other person. We are sometimes much more willing to highlight the faults rather than the strengths of others, as a result of our own sense of insecurity. Let's try some example scenarios. Pause the video and think about how you would react in these situations. People who choose mainly A would probably have a high score on an emotional intelligence test. They tend to be skilled at interpreting, understanding, and acting upon emotions. They are adept at dealing with social and emotional conflicts, expressing their feelings, and dealing with emotional situations. Think of 3 occasions when you overreacted in a negative way or lost your temper. Why did you feel that way? Could you have reacted differently? Pause the video for a moment and think. People of low emotional intelligence may have a difficult time interpreting, understanding, and acting on emotions. They often have difficulty expressing their own emotions and feel uncomfortable around the emotional displays of other people. In some cases, they may experience low self-esteem, poor self-confidence, and may have difficulty feeling empathy and showing love for others. While evolution and survival instincts sometimes encourage us to see others as a threat, psychologists like Maslow emphasize the importance of other people and the need to give value and respect to others and to receive a feeling of value and respect. Emotional intelligence isn't an inborn talent. There is most probably a link between emotional intelligence and nurture and personal experience. To a large proportion, it is the result of education, specifically education in how to interpret ourselves, where our emotions arise from, how our childhood influences us, how we might best navigate our fear and our wishes. In an ideal society, we would be taught about emotional intelligence from a young age, before we make too many mistakes. Until now, we haven't taken emotional intelligence seriously enough. How can you tell if somebody is emotionally intelligent? Emotionally intelligent people refuse to just trust the first impulses. They stop and think first. They can find reasons behind other people's negative emotions. They know, for example, that hatred may mask love or that anger may be a cover for sadness. They know that we are often very wrong about who we desire and what we really want. They will be aware of many of the common mistakes that we make when viewing the world. They know that we need to compromise between our own needs and the needs of others. They know their own strengths and weaknesses and will apologize when they were wrong. They treat others with worth, value, and respect. Some argue that we will never progress as a species and evolve until we've accepted the challenges and opportunities of properly educating ourselves in emotional intelligence. Emotional intelligence isn't about suppressing emotions. It's about learning how to recognize, process, and channel them in a way that benefits you and the people around you. Here's the key terminology: emotional intelligence, emotional quotient or EQ, to relieve stress, to communicate effectively, to empathize with others, to overcome challenges, to diffuse conflict, to navigate well, a deficit, a conflict, a paradox, emotional ignorance, to form judgments logically, to be rational, to reason, threats, survival, to become sensitive to something, opportunities, to highlight the faults, a sense of insecurity, to be skilled at, to be adept at, to interpret, low self-esteem, poor self-confidence, to feel empathy or to empathize, an inborn talent, nurture, to trust your first impulses, to compromise, to suppress emotions, to recognize, to process, to channel. In this session, we have learned that emotional intelligence is about the importance of emotions An emotionally intelligent person not only understands their own emotions, but also how other people feel. I hope you have learned some useful language and that you're looking forward to our live sessions.